Okay, good morning. How you doing, everybody? It's Wednesday, officially the 2nd of February, and we are live answering your questions from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Right here on, well, pretty much every social media platform that matters. We are on Instagram. We are on TikTok, but we're also on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at various locations on your internet dial. Doesn't even make sense. What are we doing today? Well, we're going to be answering your traffic and police questions like we do every day, Monday to Friday, but we are also going to be joined at 9:35 by News Talk 1010, Jerry Agar. It's the Jerry Agar Show. Now, Jerry is a radio host who talks about all sorts of things, but every other week we join him to answer questions from his audience as well as our audience, all live on the air in Toronto. Now, something to just cover this morning. Two things that are really important. The weather and also Vision Zero Enforcement Team. So Vision Zero Enforcement Team, we try and cover this every morning. They are a dedicated group of officers that focus on the big four. They are trying to change driver behavior to prevent serious injury and death on our roads. Pretty cool, right? They focus on speeders, aggressive drivers, distracted drivers, and impaired drivers. Why? Because those behaviors lead to those serious injuries and fatalities on our road. So this all comes back to Vision Zero. Vision Zero acknowledges that minor collisions are going to happen, but the serious ones that lead to death and serious injury, they're totally preventable and they're totally unacceptable. So that is what their mission is. They're out there doing it. There's about 18 and possibly more now. We're trying to expand the unit from what I understand. They are there to try and change behavior. Not a money grab. If you don't speed, if you don't break the law, you're not going to be ticketed. And that gets into a whole other conversation about money. A lot of people don't like the idea of police enforcement or telling them what to do, but it's all in the interest of safety. Now, today they are specifically in 13 and 41 division, and they are augmenting the work done by those divisions. So this doesn't mean that we're not doing enforcement anywhere else. We just have added enforcement, and it's intelligence led. So analysts look at the numbers as to where collisions occur and where police need to be to try and curb certain behaviors, and that is where these officers are sent, and it's a different place every day. So at the end of the day, you shouldn't be breaking the law, but if you are, expect to see one of these officers, and also know that they have fancy vehicles that don't necessarily look like police vehicles. Pretty cool. Good morning, Big Jeff Fresh coming in from YouTube. How you doing? Punxsutawney Phil. Anybody know who he is? Punxsutawney Phil. And I don't even know how to pronounce this right, but Shubenacadie Sam? Is that Shubenacadie? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. They are both, what's it called? They are, what are they called? They're prairie dog? No, what is it? Why can't I remember the name of this animal that I said? Let's see here. Groundhog. It's groundhog. Yes, groundhog. Not a gerbil, a groundhog. Thank you, Big Jeff Fresh, who threw it in the comments. It was on the tip of my tongue. I said it like 20 minutes ago. They both predicted 6 more weeks of winter. That's not okay. Now, I will say that their Canadian cousin, Wyerton Willie, he predicts an early spring, and I'm going to go with him. I'm siding with him because I want some warm weather. That's it. I'm done with winter. It wasn't even a harsh winter, but I'm finished with it anyway, and I hope that Wyerton is the one for the win. So I don't know if someone's taking bets on this, but I'm all about Wyerton Willie being right. And let's see here. Let's see. We have people, I'll just address this right away. People are asking, and have been for the last few days, about the Freedom Convoy and what my thoughts are. Well, I'm not getting political, and I'm not going to weigh in on this. As far as I'm concerned, police are out there dealing with it, and if there's something illegal being done, they'll deal with it. And if there's nothing illegal being done, they'll deal with it that way too. And I'm talking about traffic and police questions, but I'm not going to address that beyond what I just did. Okay. The Big Evil wants to know how I relax after and decompress after my work week. I spend time with my family, and I have also started playing some games on Twitch with some of the viewers who spend time with us on the show. So you can get me at VoiceoverCop for that purpose. I'm also available on all social media platforms at VoiceoverCop because I do different stuff there and talk about tech and talk about other things, different than what I talk about during the show. So you're welcome to follow me there. I share a lot of information there. But we are also at Traffic Services on Twitter, which is one of the places you can find out daily where the Vision Zero enforcement officers are. And by the way, 630 people roughly in the room now on TikTok. If you missed the intro, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service, and I go live on social media Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. answering your traffic and police questions. So if you got them, throw them in the Q&A section. That's how I get to see them. I got a question that is coming in here. Let's see here. From the Q&A. Music levels while driving, please. And a also question coming on Instagram asking about mufflers. So I can talk about both of those. And, two birds, one stone. So the deal is that music levels, well, if you're driving with music and I can hear it on the street, you are being unnecessarily noisy. And that could get you a ticket. It's the same thing as having, 1 second. I'm going to pause my answer while I just check in with News Talk.
Determine it's someone either selling.
Hey, Nick.
Good morning, Sean. Good morning, everyone. Welcome.
Welcome. How's it going?
Things are well. How are things with you guys?
Can't
you
complain.
Guys busy today?
Yeah, we've got 600 people in the room right now, and it's just growing from there. We're ready when you are ready to go. If you want, do you want to leave us with no audio, or you want to give us a 30-second heads up?
I'll give you some audio, but you can control it on your end. But I'll give you about a 60-second warning before we come on.
Sounds good. All right,
Thanks,
we'll put you in the green room.
then.
Talk soon. Okay, so that was Nick. He is the man behind the man behind the mic. So and he has his own show, which is pretty awesome. We can talk about that later. Anyway, so music levels are and it's actually just not music. It's honking your horn unnecessarily. It's revving your engine, creating noise. That is the issue. So if you're creating noise with your vehicle, whether it be by your exhaust, your stereo, or your horn, you can get charged for unnecessary noise under the Highway Traffic Act. And that's the thing: $110, no demerit points. And when we talk about mufflers, because Malcolm on Instagram is asking, what classifies no muffler on a car? Well, a muffler is a physical thing that must be there. So if it's not there, that's no muffler. Now, if you're talking about unnecessary noise, which no muffler could cause, you could end up with 2 charges. You need to have your muffler. You need to have your resonator. You need to have a catalytic converter. All these things go into your emission system and are required hardware. Unless, of course, you have a classic that predates the laws requiring a vehicle to have it. So if you have a Model T, well, there's no muffler likely required, or if the muffler is there, I don't know. I'm not a Model T aficionado. Let's see here. Okay. Is it okay to only go 9 kilometers an hour over the speed limit? This is coming in from Lunar Gremlin. The answer is no. It's not okay to exceed the speed limit. The speed limit is a speed limit, and you can't exceed it for any reason. There's absolutely nothing that makes it okay or justifies it. You can be charged for 1 kilometer over, or 100 kilometers over, or whatever speed you're doing. That's the deal. There's no acceptable speed. Unless you're a police, fire, or ambulance, you're not allowed to exceed the speed limit. And even then, that's for lawful execution of duty, for those that are legally exempt and permitted to do it. Okay. We have Alan coming in with a good morning to myself and moderators. Hope you guys have a great day. Thank you very much, and same to you. We have Alex who comes in. I'm never going to try and say the random name that he has on Twitch, but Alex, good to see you. LinkedIn user. This is a great question. Okay. Whatever happened to Blinky? I miss seeing that car. It was a great morale booster to show children to appreciate the police force. Thanks for that question. He is parked in our parking garage not that far away. I've posted some videos and pictures of him in the past. I'll have to do that again. I very much want to bring Blinky back, but Blinky is old and needs some work. But I think we need a new Blinky. I think Blinky 2.0 is got to happen, and I've got some plans, and we'll see. I got to see if I can make it happen, but I definitely want to. There's our gift shop, the museum gift shop, made some retro Blinky merchandise that if you check their website, you might be able to get it. I don't know if it's still there or gone, but check it out. There's some great stuff. But Blinky was awesome. I remember being a kid, meeting Blinky for the first time, and out behind the school, everyone sat on the ground, because we used to sit on the ground before. It wasn't gross. The ground was just the ground. Anyway, Blinky would come by, and it was a great interactive thing. So I grew up in Toronto. It was part of my childhood. Q says that Blinky looks eerie in person. I guess if you weren't introduced to Blinky when Blinky was, high tech. If you YouTube Blinky, there's some great video about the old school Blinky. I think what was it? Blog Toronto. They had a whole story they did on it with video and how Blinky came to be. Let's see here. Let me just holler to the folks who are having a conversation in the hallway.
Blinky just reminds me of like that pulley telephone as a kid, but like oversized. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, that telephone you drag behind you, a kid, and the eyes move. Yeah, it was. Some people think he's creepy, but he was cool. Let's see here. Christopher Brown's asking what my thoughts are about the big snowstorm we're about to get. You know what? It's a good conversation to have. A lot of folks were not ready and prepared for the snowstorm that we had not that long ago, and the city was effectively shut down because of it. I don't know if this snowstorm is going to be the same size, but obviously, you have to make your own decisions when it comes to determining how badly you need to leave the house. If it's inclement weather, if it's dangerous, if you check the news, make a plan, base your decisions on information that's provided, because that's a good thing to do. If you get out there, you end up getting stuck. Is it worth it? Is it worth risking it? If you don't have the appropriate equipment, you don't have snow tires, you don't have a snow brush, if you don't dress for the weather, if you don't have enough gas or windshield fluid, all these things that you need to take care of always. But when you know a big storm's coming, that's a hint. That's a hint you should really be paying attention to what's going on. Sergeant Kulik just joined us.
Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
And welcome back, because you were off and about and doing things. So it's nice to have you back in the office. Q just sent a text saying good morning and happy Lunar New Year.
Thank you.
Okay.
Happy New Year to everybody who's celebrating.
Yeah, I made a very it was an attempt at saying it in Chinese yesterday. I tried in Mandarin and Cantonese, and I don't know which one was better, but it's a thing.
That's good.
Question coming in saying, what is the process to get into the auxiliary program? So auxiliary program is a very specific. It was very specific. It is like applying for any job because there's a screening process, an application process. I was in auxiliary for 12 years. It's a fantastic way to volunteer and experience your city in a different way. You get to try on for size the uniform, and the way that people interact with you is very different once you're on. So the application process, go onto the website www.torontopolice.on.ca/careers. There's a tab there with information about the auxiliary, as well as the ability to to apply for it. And I don't know if we're actively taking applications right now for it, because the program, due to the pandemic, is sort of being held back. We might be going back in this week because restrictions are being reduced, but check with them and find out what the next classes. I don't have specific information as to when they are or how their process begins for hiring again.
And it's a really great program if you want to get some volunteer work in, whether you're looking to be a police officer for a career. It gives you some insight, but just also it serves your community, and you get some really great training. You get to do some really cool stuff after that.
For sure.
Parades, you get to help out, do canvassing. There's all kinds of different details, and you could end up anywhere in the city, right? At a division, a specialized unit, traffic services. You could.
I started as a traffic services auxiliary, and I got to ride a Harley as an auxiliary. I got a very unique experience in it, although it did result in me becoming a paid member of the service in the end, because I had really confirmed that's what I wanted to do. Many people join and simply make a lifetime of volunteerism with no intention of ever becoming a paid police officer. And I can appreciate there's a lot of paperwork in being a cop, but you'd get far less paperwork as an auxiliary officer, and you still get to have many of the experiences and help people. It's very rewarding. I used to say that it was a very selfish thing that I used to do, being a volunteer, because I felt good every time I came out to help people. So while I was giving back, I really got a lot out of it. So totally endorse it. Anyone who wants to know about auxiliary stuff, feel free to reach out. You can DM me. I'll happily give you more information. A shout out to auxiliary officers that take Blinky around to community events. So that's our OXO unit. That's actually officers who've retired as auxiliary members. They don't go out in the same capacity in uniform, but they still contribute after retirement. They're a fantastic group of folks who do that, and thank you to them, and thank you for recognizing them for the work that they do. Question coming in about what handgun do Canadian cops carry? Every police service is different. Glocks are very popular, but other services use different firearms. I don't know all of them. But yeah, it depends. Depends where you're at. Okay. Is it illegal to chrome delete the emblems on a car? I've had the question before, but not recently. So thanks for bringing it up. No, you can remove the emblems. You can put a happy face there. There's no rules about putting a sticker on the body of your car or removing a sticker from the body of your car. Many people do it. It looks pretty slick sometimes. Let's see here. Can I drive my car to New York City on a G2? Yes, you can. G2 is a probationary license, but it is a license, and it's acknowledged by other provinces and countries. So if you are traveling into the United States, you must, and to any province for that matter, you must observe all the conditions that come along with your G2, but you can operate a motor vehicle there. So it's a good question. Thanks for asking it.
And remember, too, if you're going to be operating, no matter what class your license is, in another country, check their regulations. You may need an international driver's license to drive in those countries. And for example, I was in India a number of years ago, and we had to have one, and that's done through CAA, I believe.
They are the representative for the country for international driver's license. I don't think anyone else can get them. You can get them anywhere else.
No.
And all it is they basically give you a card and they put a photo on it and they transcribe or have a translation cue. It basically allows an officer in another country to read and understand the information. Yeah.
Just make sure you check the regulations wherever you're
Absolutely. You got to know before you go, because if not, you may have difficulties. And other countries, getting tickets and arrested in other countries, bad.
Who are you and who's that lady speaking right now?
Oh, you want to know who I am? Well, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service here in Ontario, Canada, and I go live on social media answering your traffic and police questions Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. And we're the traffic unit for the city. So we handle citywide enforcement of Highway Traffic Act, investigation of collisions, and much, much more. Joining me off camera is Sergeant Melissa Kulik. You can do your own intro. I shouldn't have introduced you. You could have done it.
Yeah, no, Sean and I work alongside here at Traffic Services, and every once in a while you'll hear me pop into his show and just add my 2 cents worth in. So.
And we have Sergeant Murray Campbell, who sometimes does the same, and he's not here right now, but he may pop in later. We'll see. If he shows up, we'll let you know. It's kind of weird that they can only see me, but they can hear you and they can hear Q, and everyone thinks we're all cuddled in one room, and we're not.
And maybe after COVID and everything sort of lifts and things get back to normal, we'll all be faces on the screen.
That's right. The things will change and adapt as things change and adapt. Okay, let's see here. No, we're not talking about that.
Can I ask one?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, you drink.
Okay, I drink.
Can you speak about the quotas for your police department or other ones?
Quotas. Is it 1 million per day that we have to write?
Oh, something like that.
1 to 2 million tickets a day. We don't have any quotas. It's always a popular question, but it is not something that we do. Everyone's responsible to go work for a living. It doesn't matter if you work for McDonald's or you work somewhere else. You have to show that you're paying attention and you're doing your job. If you're not doing anything, there's questions. Why are we paying you? So that is a performance situation. You have to justify your time. So if I'm investigating collisions, I'm investigating collisions. If I'm directing traffic because something happened, I'm doing something. But if I'm doing nothing, well, what are you doing? Well, if you open your eyes on a city street for more than 5 minutes, you're going to see traffic infractions. And we are traffic officers. We write tickets. Let's see here. They are taking my quota of 1 million tickets personally. It's per officer. Yeah, it's not. I was kidding about the 1 million tickets. 2 million. That's doable. Yeah, it's a lot of work to write a ticket. It's not just write it and go. You have to write evidence. It takes you off the road. It's complicated depending on what the offense is. So to say writing 5, 10, 25 tickets, that's a full day. So there's nobody saying you have to do it or you're going to get kicked to the curb, and you're not going to get a free toaster if you go over and above. It's different for everybody. It's not a standard. It's not a simple thing. It's just being accountable for your time. That's all it is.
And depending on what the charge is, there can be case prep that goes with that too. That can be very time consuming because those are documents that the court requires in order to prove the charge.
That's it. So, it's quality over quantity for me. It's always been the case. Like if I go out and write tickets about or for handheld communication device, which I think is a very dangerous activity, I believe in it and I'm motivated to write those. That's writing a novel every time you stop someone for it. A speeding ticket is fairly simple. They were here, they were there. I read this time. I read the sign. I confirmed that everything was that. My machine works. It's a much faster ticket to write, but they all are valuable. And there's no bonus for doing more. Okay. Good question coming in from Instagram, and this is in relation to traveling with infants in taxis, Ubers, and Lyfts. And I'll throw in buses because they're the other one. The deal is that if you are traveling in a taxi or a bus, you're not required to restrain children or infants in a car seat. There's no requirement for a car seat. They're exempt. However, in Ubers and Lyfts, there are. So if you are traveling, if you're out and about, you want to hail a taxi because you need to go somewhere, well, you may not be carrying a car seat on your back, and that's, I guess, understandable and why they create this exemption for those particular modes of transportation. If you're taking an Uber and a Lyft, they don't fall into the same area of law. They do not have that classification or exemption, so you can't transport as an Uber or Lyft driver children without a proper car seat. And putting them in a regular seatbelt is very dangerous. So yeah, that's the deal. LinkedIn question. Let's scroll down and see. We have. Okay, we got Josh with a question. Let me put it on screen. Advanced left turn at an intersection from a single lane onto a roadway with 2 lanes. Do you merge into the left or the right lane? And can oncoming traffic make their right turns while you have an advanced light? Lots of near misses, thanks in advance. So the deal is that a right turn must be made in safety. They're responsible, regardless of how many lanes there are, to ensure that that can be done in safety. Obviously, if they make a turn while you are making your turn and you're on the advanced, they are in a situation where they must ensure that you can complete your turn safely. Now, the left turning vehicle, to make a proper turn, must turn into the leftmost lane, left lane to left lane. That would be proper. If you were to swing into the right lane, you would be responsible for making an improper turn. Or an turn not in safety. I think that's or improper turn.
Improper lane change, maybe.
No, the lane change would be it's a different maneuver, but similar. It's all in the same essence, I guess. So in other words, everybody needs to ensure they're doing something safely. The person making the left turn in an intersection on a green or advanced into the appropriate lane is doing the appropriate thing. The person making the right must make sure it's safe to do so. But there's obviously obligations on both parties to do what they're doing safely. Ashton coming in with a good morning, my favorite officer. Okay, Ashton, come on. People are going to think something's up. What's happening there? No, we're not talking about this stuff. Okay. Just a reminder, at 9:35, we're going to be joined by Jerry Agar on News Talk 1010, and we're going to hear from his audience, and we're going to be talking about stuff that you've brought up with their audience. It's going to be fun. We do it every couple of weeks. It's a regular thing. We've been doing it for a while now. It's awesome. I like it. Is it okay to pass a snowplow? Well, it's super dangerous to pass a snowplow. We've talked about whether it's specifically illegal, and I don't think there's a charge that comes up. But messaging is for your safety, and it's don't pass. Why? Well, because they're big machines. They may not see you, and coming into contact with them, the snow or salt that they're throwing, is something that is incredibly dangerous, and the roads ahead of them are yet to be plowed. So you might be passing them for no good reason other than trying to go faster in an environment that is already unsafe because of the weather. So it's not okay. Could it be careless driving? Sure, maybe it depends. It depends on the situation. Everything's going to be different. There's no specific thou shalt not pass a snowplow law that I'm aware of, though. What is the RCMP application process like? I haven't the foggiest. I am not a member of the RCMP. That is our federal police service, and we don't. Neither one of us work there. So I don't know what their process is like. I assume it's very much like the Toronto police process in that you apply, you have a physical, you have an academic requirement, and then also a what do you call it? Mental health. It's a psychological testing. And then once you do that, you go to Depot, which is different than our local police service. So it's same, but different. But you should check their website for more information on how to apply with them, or check our website because we're recruiting and looking for good people to join our ranks. www.torontopolice.on.ca/careers. That will get you more information about what our process is about. Okay, water I need. Okay, can an accompanied G1 driver drive in the United States? No. A G1 license is only valid in Ontario. You can't operate outside of Ontario. You cannot go to other provinces or other countries. It is not valid. That is the deal. Safe Communities is in our chat. What's going on, Safe Communities? Safe Communities is in Brooks, Alberta. They're an RCMP detachment, and they are very active on social media. If you are in Alberta and want information specific to the laws there, you should be following their channel. So find them in the chat, and maybe you guys can shout out in the chat, and people can link and follow you because they are people who know stuff, and their stuff is different than our stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's the same.
And for whoever was asking about the RCMP hiring process, maybe they would be a good resource for you.
That you know what, Josh and Kendra, who are out there, know stuff about that stuff. I say stuff a lot. That's my new favorite word. I'm the guy that talks about stuff. Can I make a dirt bike road legal in Ontario? Let's see here. You'd have to make a conversion by adding signals, lights. It would have to meet the requirements set out for street vehicles. So could you? Potentially, but you need to get it safety certified and so on. But generally speaking, dirt bikes are not permitted on the road. Okay. Are accompanied G1s allowed on the highway? Mamba Forever, you're back. What's going on? Regular listener and question asker. So welcome and thanks for returning. The deal is that a G1 driver can only drive on a highway that has a speed limit of 80 kilometers an hour or more if they are accompanied, over 80 kilometers, if they're accompanied by a licensed driving instructor. That is different than mom, dad, cousin Bob, who has a driver's license. This is someone who's a professional driving instructor employed by a school. They can take you on a highway, but nobody else. Who's on stream with you? Is this a Dory cue, or is this because you really didn't know, Ashton? That's Sergeant Mosakulik, the other half of this office.
Hello.
Okay. What's going on here? Why aren't you working? I am working. What are you doing? I am an officer assigned, actually, we're both officers, assigned to the Safety Programs Unit at Traffic Services. And this is the studio in safety programs, which is what we do, at least part of what we do, which is social media and media relations. So we are here answering your questions, Fart Simpson. That's usually, his name is Fart Simpson. Answering your questions, educating people, because education is a huge component of traffic safety. And at 9:35, we'll be joining Jerry Agar, which is not that far away, on News Talk 1010. Okay. Let's see here. What is... looking for... No, firearm stuff we're not talking about right now. Only because I don't understand the question you're asking, saying about firearms. I do know about firearms, but I didn't get that question. So if you want to rephrase
was
it,
asking
you can ask.
about the airsoft.
Airsoft firearm. Well, airsoft.
How to transport.
Airsoft are a funny situation. So they're not illegal per se, but we've had situations where people have transported openly airsoft, which effectively are replicas. They look like real guns, and it's incredibly dangerous and illegal to walk around with something that represents a firearm. You are going to be arrested. You are going to be investigated, and possibly charged, because it creates such a panic in the community. We've had people with machine guns or things that look like machine guns walking through subway stations, and then they get an armed response, and it's not good. So yeah, transport them in a case, in a trunk of a car. Avoid bringing them anywhere else if they're not transporting by vehicle.
There's all kinds of information if you Google, Ontario laws regarding carrying a firearm. The government has set regulations out there. So
yeah, it's
before
just
you do it, look it up.
For sure. The only issue is airsoft is like a BB gun that looks like a gun that isn't a gun. And people think they're toys, and they think they can do things they can't. So make sure you find out what your local jurisdiction, how they want you to operate to be safe. How long do you have to write a long report? Until it gets done. If you look at our long-term stuff, we have folks that are reconstruction office. They build things. They take a year to do these reports. They're really huge, but it depends on the type of report you're talking about. Some things get knocked out very quickly.
A traffic investigation can be done quickly, or it could be lengthy, right? And in terms of an officer that's responding, for example, break and enter. Well, you could have a report that's fairly simple. It's a rock through the window. That could be a 2-hour report, or you could have something where it's, $500,000 worth of stuff taken from someone's house, and fingerprints have to be lifted, and photos, and all kinds of stuff. And that can be a full day investigation.
For sure.
That will continue from there. So it really depends on what type of report and how much it entails.
Yeah.
There's no hard and fast rule.
What about colored fog lights? Well, you're not allowed to project anything other than white or yellow. So if your color is anything other than white or yellow, that's not permitted. We have here just wishes that you should have a good day. That was just reading through as we go, because we're going to be joined very shortly. 5 minutes until we go on the air. What exhaust work is considered illegal? Well, removal of a muffler or a resonator would be an obvious one. You can't have straight pipes, and you cannot have you can't remove your catalytic converters. There's a bunch of things. You need to have a functioning muffler. If you even have a muffler that doesn't muffle, that would be illegal. Good morning. We have visitors. Okay. What's the best, worst thing that's happened on duty? There's so many things. That's a whole show on itself. But I don't think we have time for it right now, because those are usually stories and we go down the rabbit hole. But you know what? Maybe we'll do a show on that theme one day. Do
I'm going
police?
to say goodbye to everybody for this morning. I'm going to go on to some other stuff for now.
Okay.
So
Well, it was nice having you
anyways,
join
have a
us.
great day and see you all again soon.
Bye,
Sounds
Sergeant
good.
Kulik.
Bye, Q.
Okay. Is a motorcycle for e-motorcycle required? Fantastic question. So, and I'm glad you call it e-motorcycle because it is a very different designation. An electric motorcycle is a motorcycle, and yes, you do require a license, proper insurance, registration, license plate, etc. If you have an e-bike is a motor vehicle. However, if it conforms to the e-bike laws, there's an exemption. It makes it into a bicycle for the purposes of operating where it's legal. But it cannot exceed 32 kilometers an hour. As soon as it does, if it's being modified, it becomes a motorcycle and requires all of the license ownership and so on. So don't modify vehicles if they are e-bikes because you're in for a world of hurt. An insurance or a no insurance charge will carry a fine that ranges from $5,000 to $25,000 on conviction for the first time. So, yeah, but e-motorcycles are just that. They're motorcycles. Like the Harley Davidson makes an electric motorcycle. Totally a motorcycle, requires everything. Okay. Are SRU just normal officers or a dedicated team? Do you mean, what is SRU? Because every place has a different acronym, and I don't know what your SRU you're saying. Are you saying school resource unit? Are you saying some kind of special team that jumps out of helicopters? Let me know what you mean, because I don't want to give you an answer that makes no sense. Search and rescue unit. Search and rescue. So we have a. This is assuming. Oh, so we have officers trained. Like when I was an auxiliary officer, I took basic search and rescue for search team to assist. But there are folks. We have a Marine unit. We have a public order unit. We have crew officers, and some people get training in that, and then for a basic training. That depends. There's no dedicated. Well, there's a small team I think that are search and rescue, and they coordinate everything. Oh, if you're. Well, yeah, I know. So if just Q saying, in case you were talking about SWAT, that's a whole different situation. And we're 90 seconds away. Thanks for the update. We're 90 seconds away from going on the radio. But yeah, so lots of stuff to talk about when it talks to ETF. Tactical teams, if you're talking about that, that's a special unit. People want to know where the fines go when you get fined. That goes to the provincial government. They may divide it to the city to some degree. I don't know, but it goes to paying for infrastructure and things. It certainly doesn't go to me. Is it illegal to pass on a solid line? Unless there's a sign that says thou shalt not, it's not specifically illegal. The lines are there as a safety caution, but there's no law. So if you do decide to pass on a solid line, know that you're responsible for your actions, regardless if it is a single or double. Are sun strips legal on models for 2020, 2022? No, sun strips are not legal on any vehicle that is manufactured 2017 or newer. You can only put it in the older vehicles. Okay, we're going on, and we'll be joined in just a moment. We're 45 seconds away, so I'm going to stop answering questions until we are asked for one. So I'm going to queue up one for the next one. And Jerry Agar will be joining us in a second. And just as a note, so you have a couple of seconds, can we get a copy or see the HTA laws? Yes, you can. It's available for free. Search Highway Traffic Act Ontario on Google, and you can see everything.
All right, everybody, stand by. Coming right up here with Jerry Agar. You'll hear
Sounds
some
good.
silence, and then Jerry will introduce you. Thanks. Have a good show, Sean.
Thanks, Nick.
This is the Jerry Agar Show on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Thanks for being along. Really quickly here, let you know that Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson is going to join Jim Richards today on The Rush at 5:20 to talk about the latest and what he plans to do next with the protest, etc. But now I am joined by the TikTok traffic cop, Sean Shapiro, who's on TikTok at Traffic Services on a regular basis and then joins us from time to time with traffic questions. Good morning.
Good morning, Jerry. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's good to have you. Let's start with this question that somebody wrote in. How do I know if the officer who pulled me over for speeding is telling the truth without showing me the radar? Example, you were doing 88 in a 60. How would I know if he didn't show it? Well, I think if you're doing 88, you should know. But there could be a case, I guess, where somebody goes, I don't think I was speeding.
Well, it's a great question. In Ontario, officers are not required to show you the reading on their laser, and the fact is, and for any measurement tool, because they could also have been pacing you. There's a number of ways to determine speed. Many officers do show it because they want to just make it easier, but it's not a requirement. And why would an officer provide false information? There's no benefit to it. We don't get a free toaster for writing you a ticket, so there's no motivation. At the same time, speeding occurs whether you're 1 kilometer over or more. So if you're speeding, the charge is speeding. The amount of speed that you're going over just goes to how many points and how many dollars you'd be responsible for in terms of a fine.
If it's relatively close, if the speed limit is 60 and I'm going 62, I suppose technically I'm speeding. You're going to pull me over?
I'm not me. And I'm sure there's somebody out there who would. But 62 is probably going to be one of those things where maybe it's downhill. Maybe there's an explanation. Maybe their speedometer is not accurate by a little bit. So very rarely will you see someone pull over for that kind of range. For me, you're at the 10 over. That's going to be more along where I'm going to stop you. Some officers may say they're looking for someone who's going 20 over because there's so many people going 10 over. Every officer's different. There's discretion, and they get to focus on the things that they want to. So people who choose to speed know that it's speeding at any speed over the limit, and you are eligible for that ticket. Whether you get it is a different story.
All right, I was going to hold this question for the second segment, but since you touched on it, I'm going to ask it now. You said we don't get a toaster for writing you a ticket, but what about your quota?
Well, there is no quota, although I hear about it all the time. It doesn't exist. If you work for any company, you work for McDonald's all the way up, there's an expectation that you are doing what you are paid to do. So if it's going and writing tickets, then that could be your assigned duty. You need to show that you were making good use of your time, not that you have to hit certain numbers. If I write a ticket that's a very complicated one, it ends up in an investigation, cell phones and insurance, I could be all day dealing with something, and that's okay because I'm justifying my time with what I'm doing. I don't have to hit a certain number before I can come home, or they're going to leave me out in the cold, or I have a risk of losing my job. There's nothing to motivate me or force me to write more or less.
And there's a lot of people who don't believe you. And there's nothing you can do about that. But I'll ask it this way. If I'm your supervisor and I send Sean Shapiro out there to on patrol, how do I know you're doing your job outside something like ticket quotas or whatever?
Well, here's this magical thing in the computer age is they know where our vehicle is. They know if it's moving, if the lights are on. Whenever we go onto a call, whether it be a collision investigation, a radio call for helping somebody, it's all recorded. We're dispatched and we're told where to go for the most part. If we are not assigned to something where there's no collisions, we're waiting for a call and we see something, we're probably going to pick that up because it's a way of keeping busy. We don't want to sit doing nothing. So we're observing and looking to keep the roads safe. It's what we're doing, especially as traffic officers.
Question here by text, Sean, asking about turning right across a bike lane. What's the protocol there?
So if you've got a dedicated bicycle lane or a cycle track, it really depends on what it looks like. And this is a confusing thing. Depending on the way that intersection is designed, there may be hash marks. If there's hash marks, that's giving you an indication that you can cross into that area to hug the curb and make the turn safely. Obviously, you need to make sure that it's safe to enter when you're doing that. If you are crossing a cycle track, you cannot pinch the cycle track. Usually there's a barrier or stanchions or a raised part of the ground. That means that you need to ensure that there's no bicycle coming, and you cannot cut them off. They have a right of way.
Steve writes in from Toronto, tailgating is rampant at any speed. What are the laws regarding tailgating? And I would add to that, have you ever pulled somebody over and you were tailgating the vehicle in front of you?
Following too close is a problem. If you're following, and it's not a distance, there's no specific distance. It changes at speed. Usually we talk in seconds, at least when we talk about driving instruction, about how far. You need to give yourself room to have a reactionary gap. If they were to hit their brakes and you end up driving into them, this is how people get charged for in collisions, how collisions, many of them, occur. So if someone's following too close, certainly they can be charged for that. Have I laid following too close? I don't know if I have. It's been a while since I've been on the road, but I don't recall writing that ticket. I've got one of my colleagues who's nearby who's nodding and says, yeah, he has. So it is a problem. And if someone is following too close, investigating them is absolutely something that should happen.
All right. And somebody else is asking here, I think this is a good question. Are you required to use your blinker on a roundabout?
So it's funny, they're considered safer, and yet they confuse many people. When entering a roundabout, you're not required to signal in. When you are signaling your exit, you should be signaling because you're showing the intention of the movement of your vehicle, which could affect other drivers. So you are required to signal out. You signal when you are exiting, and that way you give the other drivers an ability to know what you're doing, and it is a requirement under law.
All right. Here is Gobuck from Mississauga. What's your question for Sean?
Well, you're still talking about speeding, but say I'm driving a vehicle that has like a needle and numbers type speedometer, but I'm also using a GPS, which shows the speed digitally. Which one is more accurate?
Well, the speedometers in your motor vehicle aren't necessarily perfect. You change your tire, there could be some changes, and although I'm going down a rabbit hole, they could be differently accurate along the way, but not significantly. Your GPS should be very accurate because it's about your actual movement. We measure your actual movement. So regardless of what your speedometer says, it's not as relevant. We are measuring the movement of your vehicle by measuring the vehicle itself, not your speedometer. So the GPS should be more accurate, but it could be an older model. It may not be accurate. It's hard to say.
Okay, yeah, because I wasn't sure if the reading from like the satellite or whatever would,
that technology is pretty accurate these days, I guess. Thanks for your call.
Thank you.
All right, here is Mike in Cambridge. What's your question, Mike?
Yeah, hi. I'm a school bus driver, and now that school is more or less back to normal, I think it's increasingly relevant. I'd like you to remind the listeners what the consequences are for passing a stopped school bus with the red light flashing, because it happens to me on average about once a week, and it makes me crazy.
Certainly, people who either don't understand or don't care the fact that school buses are stopping and vulnerable road users, our most vulnerable road users being children, are getting on and off or crossing the street. It is not an acceptable practice. If you see the red lights flashing and the school bus is stopped, regardless of that stop sign being out, you are required by law to stop. That's on an undivided highway in both directions. If it's a divided highway, and a highway being any street or road, it is. If it's divided, you only have to stop in one direction, which is you can't pass. Now, the charge is fail to stop for school bus signal lights meeting, and it's $490 and 6 demerit points if you do it. And so many people assume that it's okay to go. Well, it's not. And enforcement activities are definitely focused on protecting kids.
Mike, thanks for the question. Keep the kids safe. What did you say?
I say it should be more than 490. It can be up to 2,000.
So,
and also, if you actually hit a child or something, that you face criminal liability as well. I believe careless driving, criminal negligence, all that kind of stuff.
Certainly, the courts can do more than simply the face of the ticket, but that's the standard charge with the standard wording.
Mike, thanks very much for your call. Thanks for all your calls. Sean's going to stay with us here. He's the TikTok traffic cop. 416-872-1010, 877-518-51.
Just going to put them in the background for a second. We probably have 2 or 3 minutes before we go back and do some more. That was a lot of stuff going on. We have a lot of callers coming in. It's been busier and busier. I think their lights glow in their whole call board must go bananas when we get on the air, because they don't get what you get. You get us Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., and we just answer your questions all the time. They have to wait 2 weeks to hear from us. So, you're getting special treatment here on TikTok and on social media. Let's see here. Oh, here is... Okay, here. Oh, I hit the microphone. What am I touching? What happens if you go 10 over the speed limit and the officer says you were going 40? Doesn't show you the evidence and impounds your vehicle. I cannot see that happening. I can't. I want to answer your question, and I don't know how to answer it, because if saying that you were going another 30 kilometers over is likely Not going to happen. I appreciate this is a what if situation, but there's no motivation for us to do more work for no reason. I can't see it happening. I suppose this is where having a dash cam, if you're really concerned about allegations that were made like that, my dash cam has a GPS in it. It tells me how much it's going. It's recorded as evidence that I can bring as a defense. So if that was a sincere concern, have a dash cam with a GPS feature on it, and then you have something to use in your defense. Okay. Sean Chen coming in with a good day, or sorry, a good day. I got it. There's no good. It's just good day. Good morning, Sean. How's it going? Let's see here. Can you arrest another officer? If they're doing something illegal that's arrestable, then we do that. That's what cops do. We arrest people for breaking the law. Is it possible? Is it going to happen? I don't know of any officers that I've never come into a situation where I've had to, but it does happen where officers get arrested. And I'm not speaking about locally or anywhere in particular, but it does happen. Do TPS parking enforcement officers have badges? They have hat badges. They don't carry wallet badges. I do not believe that they are issued a wallet badge. But hat badges, yes, it is. And actually, are they still doing that? Because now we've gone to baseball caps. I wonder if they're still getting hat badges for formal. It may have changed. I don't know. When I was a court officer, back then, there were no wallet badges. There are now. But we had hat badges on our forge cap. And yeah, things have changed. It's now a baseball cap. Actually, I don't think they get I don't know. Do court officers still get a forge cap in court, or are they getting baseball caps in court? That can't be right. Forge cap in court.
They also have a formal uniform.
Oh yes, they do.
And
That's
now
true.
They're all been designated as special constables. They get a wallet badge.
Cool. I just realized you don't have the mic on. I'll give you the mic in case you want to. Oh, Q says Campbell. All right, Sergeant Campbell was just talking off mic, so if you didn't hear him, that's why. Okay, but the microphone is now on. I'm just going to check in on the radio. Hello?
Hello?
I'll just leave the feed on, and they'll turn it back on when they come back. Unless they think that anyway. Okay, can I extend the exhaust tips to make them go up? Can you have upturned exhaust tips on your motor vehicle? Exhaust tips upturned. I don't think there's anything wrong. They can't extend beyond the vehicle for safety. I think beyond a certain distance, but I don't remember the specifics.
Right. Well, two things with that. There cannot be any sharp edges sticking out the side of your vehicle on either side, the front or the back, and that's just for a safety thing. So if your exhaust tips come out the back farther than what they're supposed to, and they're sharp, that would not be one that would pass the safety. Second of all, why would you ever want to do that? Because the rain, the snow, everything would now be entering into your muffler and either
Pool and then rust.
or freezing, overnight, and now you would have an inoperative exhaust, and you'd end up blowing gaskets.
Interesting. I'm not a mechanic. I do not know these things, but that makes sense. I just think about the pooling water. For anyone who doesn't know who I am, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service, answering your traffic and police questions Monday to Friday
All
from 9
right,
a.m. to 10
Sean,
a.m.
pardon me, was coming up in 30 seconds.
Awesome. Thanks for the update. And as you just heard from Nick, who's with News Talk 1010 in Toronto, he is saying that we're going to go in 30 seconds to be back on the air with Jerry Agar and the Jerry Agar Show. So we will talk about things and come back to things, and then we will keep going and doing. Okay, we'll wait until the air comes in, so bear with us for a few more seconds.
Get the real story. Don't miss a moment of the Evan Solomon Show. Weekdays from noon until 2, right here on News Talk 1010, where Toronto gets answers.
We're back to the Jerry Agar Show on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Thanks for being along. And of course, I'm with Sean Shapiro, traffic safety programs of traffic operations in Toronto. He's on TikTok regularly, answering questions at Traffic Services. On TikTok, PC Sean Shapiro, who joins us from time to time and generously includes our radio show in his TikTok broadcast. So I appreciate that. Let's take a look at a few things that you're being asked today on TikTok, Sean.
Well, on the theme of speeding, someone wants to know if you can go 10 kilometers over the speed limit legally. And the answer is no. The speed limit is a speed limit. You're not allowed to exceed it by any amount. The only people who are allowed to exceed the speed limit are police, fire, and ambulance in the lawful execution of their duties. Beyond that, you got to go at or below the speed limit. And then that always brings up a topic of, well, what about the passing lane? Can't you pass and speed to do that? Well, technically, no.
Okay, you're only supposed to be passing if the person is going slower, and you can go the speed limit and pass the person.
Precisely. And we know
All
that
right.
people are not following that by the letter, but they have to know that when they choose to speed, there are potential consequences.
Okay, let's do one more from TikTok.
Sure. Let's see here. When I wrap my car a different color, and do I have to report that to the Ministry of Transportation? So many people are wrapping and modifying the vehicles these days to make them look cool or reflective or what have you. And yes, you do have to update the Ministry of Transportation if you have significant change to the description. So if you bought a green car and now it's blue, you'd need to, and you have to report it within 6 days to avoid being pulled over. So there's many reasons for that, but it is important.
All right, here's an interesting text question. Can I take my G1 licensed daughter to an empty parking lot after a snowstorm and teach her how to control on the snow before she drives out into the real world?
You know what? In that wording, yes, you can learn to drive in a controlled way, in a safe way on snow. You can drive, make a right turn, a stop, do all the things you would do in normal driving. What changed in September of 2021 was the stunt driving charges are now eligible to be written on private property, which means if you are doing donuts intentionally, if you are intentionally losing traction, spinning out, drifting, those are illegal. So if that's part of your teaching, curriculum, that is potentially going to get your driver a 14-day impound of vehicle along with a 30-day license suspension and some big charges. So if you're driving within control and learning how to maintain it, if you lose control, if you spin a little bit, if something happens, but it wasn't your intention to do that, that's different than going out and having a party in the parking lot.
So there's a little bit of subjectivity there on the part of the police officer. Is this mom or dad are trying to teach this kid how to drive safely, or is this just people having some fun out here?
Well, the thing is, if you're doing donuts, it's a pattern of behavior. If you slide the rear end because you made a turn and you gave too much gas, it's very different than if you're doing donuts repeatedly in a parking lot. Everything is subjective. Everything is based on the evidence and the observations, and it's not a simple, answer. It depends.
Yeah. I like what this parent is trying to do, though. I mean, I've said before that I think learning how to drive in slippery conditions should be part of the driver's test. We make it too easy for people to get driver's licenses. Here is Dave from Rexdale.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, go ahead.
Hi. I got a complaint about all these vehicles driving around with flashing amber lights on. Dump trucks, pickup trucks. Supposed to be to move to the left when an emergency vehicle's working. But they're driving, I seen a pickup with flashing white and amber lights and just a regular pickup truck.
Well, I appreciate that they're bright lights and they may be annoying, but amber lights aren't emergency lights. Those are hazard or warning lights.
But every dump truck on the road has them amber flashing lights driving down the highway. They come on continuously. They don't. I asked an OPP officer one time on the side of the road where I was working, and he just rolled up his window. He didn't want to talk.
Well, yeah, there's no offense for a flashing amber light. It's perfectly legitimate. It's no different than using your hazard lights. It's to say, look out, there's something going on here, and to bring attention. Maybe they're slower moving vehicles, and they want to give people enough notice that they can get around them. And certain vehicles have them, certainly plows, and for very, very good reason. That's different than people who put their hazards on when it rains, because that I don't agree with. But larger vehicles that are truly hazards or need to be seen, it's a legitimate use.
All right, there's a person writing in a follow-up question, and I'll reword it kind of in my own way. Do you remember when we used to always go to work, Sean? People used to go to work. They didn't stay at home all the time.
What?
So I would be out 5 o'clock in the morning on the Gardner, and regardless of what the speed limit is, at 5 o'clock in the morning, people who only encounter it during regular rush hour might not believe this, but traffic is moving at 130 and 130 kilometers an hour, and that's way beyond the speed limit, but that's what's going on. So So to reword the question the person sent in, am I supposed to go 90 or 100, depending which section I'm on, and just let those people flow around me? Or should I just say, well, I guess I better go with the flow here?
Well, certainly there's no exemption for you to go with the flow, and just because they're doing it doesn't make it right. Stay out of the passing lane. That would be my suggestion. Let the people who choose to break the law do it there. It's much easier for us to catch them. And then you can stay to lane 2 and 3. You're going the speed limit, which is the appropriate speed. I experience this as I drive on the road at 5:30 in the morning, and I can also tell you that we often do blitzes where we have our Vision Zero enforcement team go out and stop these vehicles. So for the folks listening, if you're thinking that it's a free-for-all, it's not.
You don't have to stop them. You just have to be seen in traffic. Everybody slows right down if you come out there and join the traffic.
The fact is, we have a number of stealth vehicles, pickup trucks,
Yeah.
SUVs, all sorts.
Okay.
So we're pretty good at catching people who. Yes, you're right. If we're seeing people do the right thing, but we also want to stop the people to change their behavior when they're doing the wrong thing.
Here is Laura from Oakville. Laura?
Good morning, gentlemen. Can you please address the lack of law enforcement regarding tinted windows in vehicles? It's so dangerous, and it's important to catch the eye of the other driver, as well as, if you're walking along. Or, it makes you just think it's like nefarious reasons. I don't even know how these people get insured.
Well, I love the fact that you brought this up. It is one of our most popular topics on TikTok. We had a video that just went like 6.5 million views because of that tint topic. Tint cannot be on the front windshield at all. There's an exception for the top 3 inches on vehicles manufactured before 2017, but you can't have anything on the front windshield. If the windows on the driver's side and front passenger side windows are beyond 30%, you can't even get a safety certificate with that. And if you do have darker windows, know that the police can not only fine you for having obstructed view, for obscuring the interior from our ability to see in, but additionally, we can pull the license plates for an unsafe vehicle. And then you have tow charges and have to get a safety and reapply for your license plates. It's a big thing. It is incredibly unsafe. People argue it and say that, well, I need to be able to, adjust my nose or what have you while I'm driving under privacy. But there's reasons we have to look in, not only for pedestrians and drivers to be able to have eye contact for nonverbal communication, but also because we need to see if someone's driving, paying attention to the road, using their cell phone, maybe they're inebriated. There's a lot of things we need to be able to see. So it goes beyond just looking cool.
But it seems to me that there's a lack of law enforcement about it, because there's so many vehicles like that.
It's certainly not our focus is the big 4. That's speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired operation. So those things take up the majority of our focus. But if we pull someone over and it's obvious, or we see someone that it's just, you can't see the driver at all, we do stop those vehicles. We do lay charges for tint on a regular basis.
All right, he's on TikTok at Traffic Services on TikTok on a regular basis. It's always more questions than we can handle, so you can join him on TikTok, and he'll be back with us soon enough. He's Sean Shapiro, the TikTok traffic cop. Really appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Always a pleasure. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye, TikTok listeners. Hey, if you just turned on the show and said, I missed the TikTok traffic cop, well, we podcast the entire show.
That's awesome. I love when we get to connect with Jerry. It's always a good time. Thank you, everyone who's been watching. It's 10 o'clock, and I have to sign off today. Normally, I'd like to go for an extra 10 or 15 minutes, but unfortunately, I can't today. So back tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Come join us. We won't have to share audio or time with Jerry's show, so we'll be able to focus on you longer. Again, always a pleasure. 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., Monday to Friday. Come join us on TikTok, on Instagram. We're also simulcasting on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. Oh, and Twitch. We now have Traffic Services at Twitch, or at Traffic Services at Twitch. In any case, come follow us there. It is just another way to do it. Oh, socials. We have on Twitter. We're at Traffic Services, at Traffic Services Toronto on Instagram. We are on YouTube, Traffic Services Toronto Police. You can get me personally at VoiceoverCop on all of them. Come say hello, ask your questions and comments in the Q&A section. We can do video responses. We are a very busy place, but we want to help you out with your questions, and we will see you soon.
Bye, TikTok.
And ending. See you tomorrow.